Life can be incredibly hard sometimes. There are moments when you feel like you can't take another step, when the weight of your pain is too much to carry. You try to sleep, but sleep never comes. You pray, but it feels like your prayers go unanswered. You read the Bible, searching for comfort, yet your heart still aches. You wonder if God sees your tears. You question if He hears your cries. You ask, God, have you forgotten me? If you've ever felt this way, you are not alone. Many great men and women in the Bible went through seasons of waiting, pain, and doubt. They wondered if God would ever come through for them, just like you do now. But the truth is, God was always working behind the scenes. Even when you don't see it, even when you don't feel it, God is moving. One day your tears will fall again, but this time there will be tears of joy, because God has answered your prayers in ways beyond what you ever imagined. There are nights when you cry yourself to sleep. Your heart aches with a pain that words cannot describe. You lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering how you got here. You feel lost, broken, and overwhelmed by life's challenges. You try to be strong, but the weight of your struggles is too heavy. You pray, but it feels like your prayers hit the ceiling and fall back down. You hope, but hope seems distant. The pain is real, and it feels like no one understands what you are going through. But even in the middle of your pain, God sees you. Every tear you cry is noticed by Him. Even when it feels like no one cares, God does. You are not alone, even if it feels that way right now. You have prayed and prayed. You have asked God to help you, to change your situation, to answer your prayers. You have waited, believing that any day now things will turn around. But instead of things getting better, they seem to stay the same or even get worse. You read the book of Psalms, searching for comfort in David's words. You see how he cried out to God, saying, "How long, Lord? Will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me?" You realize that even David, a man after God's own heart, felt abandoned at times. The longer you wait, the harder it gets. At first, you had faith. You believed that God would come through for you. But as days turn into weeks, and weeks into months, or even years, your faith starts to weaken. Doubt whispers in your ear. Maybe God isn't going to answer. Maybe He does not care. Maybe I've been forgotten. You wonder if your prayers even matter. You start questioning God's promises. You see others receiving their breakthroughs, while you are still stuck in the same place. You try to be happy for them, but deep down you ask, "God, when will it be my turn?" Just because you don't see anything happening does not mean God isn't working. Sometimes God's silence is not a denial, it's a test of faith. You may not see it, but behind the scenes, God is setting things up for your breakthrough. He is aligning the right people, opening doors that you don't even know exist, and preparing blessings that will come at the perfect time. You may feel like your situation is stuck, but God is always moving. What looks like a delay is actually divine preparation. When the time is right, you will see that He was working all along. Job was a man who loved God and lived righteously. But in one day, his entire world fell apart. He lost his wealth, his health, and worst of all, his children. His heart was shattered. He was in so much pain that he tore his clothes and fell to the ground in grief. He could have turned his back on God. He could have given up. But instead, Job said, "The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised." Even in his deepest sorrow, he refused to let go of his faith. Maybe you feel like Job right now. Maybe life has taken things from you, your dreams, your relationships, your peace. Maybe you feel like nothing is left. But just as Job remained faithful, God is calling you to trust Him even when life does not make sense. Job's suffering was not the end of his story. After his season of pain, God restored everything he had lost and more. The Bible says, "The Lord restored his fortunes and gave him twice as much as he had before." The same man who once cried in despair later cried tears of joy because of God's blessings. God did not just give Job back what he lost, He doubled it. His story reminds us that God never wastes our pain. When He restores, He does it in abundance. Your pain is not permanent. Your suffering has an expiration date. What the enemy meant for harm, God will turn into good. Zechariah and Elizabeth were faithful to God, yet they had no children. In those days, being childless was seen as shameful. Imagine how Elizabeth must have felt watching other women hold their babies while she had empty arms. Imagine the prayers she prayed, the tears she cried. She may have wondered, "God, why have you not blessed me? Have you forgotten me?" Year after year, she waited, but nothing changed. She possibly reached a point where she thought it would never happen. Maybe you feel like Elizabeth. Maybe you've waited so long for your miracle that you've started to believe it will never happen. But just as Elizabeth did not know that an angel was about to change her life, you don't know how close your breakthrough is. One day, as Zechariah served in the temple, an angel appeared to him, saying, "Do not be afraid, Zechariah. Your prayer has been heard. Your wife Elizabeth will bear you a son, and you are to call him John." After decades of waiting, when hope seemed lost, God answered their prayers at the perfect time. Elizabeth did not just give birth to any child. She gave birth to John the Baptist, the one who would prepare the way for Christ. If her prayer had been answered earlier, it would not have aligned with God's divine plan. God's timing is never too late. Like Job, you may feel like you have lost everything. Like Elizabeth, you may have waited so long that hope seems like a distant memory. But just because you do not see God working does not mean He isn't. Your breakthrough is coming. Often the period of waiting is where God prepares us. If He gave us what we asked for too soon, we will not be ready for it. God refines us in the waiting, strengthening our faith so that when the blessing comes, we can handle it. God does not work on our timeline. He sees what we cannot see. While we cry over closed doors, He is preparing something better. While we wonder why things are falling apart, He is putting things together in a way that will glorify Him and bless us. Just like Job's restoration and Elizabeth's long-awaited miracle, your moment is coming. One day you will look back on this painful season and see how God was working all along. One day your tears will not be of sorrow but of joy. Miracles often come when we least expect them. God is faithful. He sees your pain. He hears your cries. Your breakthrough is coming. The very thing that is breaking you today will be the testimony that strengthens others tomorrow. Your suffering is not meaningless. God will use it for His glory. And when He does, you will cry again, but this time it will be tears of gratitude because God has answered your prayers in ways beyond what you ever imagined. Right now, it may feel like nothing is changing. It may seem like your prayers are unheard. But just as Job's story did not end in suffering, just as Elizabeth's waiting was not in vain, your story is not over. God has not forgotten you. Your prayers are not wasted. The delay is not a denial. It's preparation for something greater. One day you will look back on this painful season and see how God was guiding you all along. One day your tears of sorrow will turn into tears of joy. The same God who restored Job and blessed Elizabeth is the same God who is working on your behalf. So don't give up. Your miracle is coming, and when it does, you will cry again, not from pain, but from overwhelming gratitude to God. Your tears will turn into joy. Hold on, God is not finished with you yet. Thank you for watching, and may God bless you.